Did you guys think I was Kylian Mbappe? I am not gonna lose to that little boy Yamal. Please don't ever compare that little boy Lamine Yamal to Messi ever again.
Welcome back, football fans. Today, we're diving into one of the most unforgettable moments in modern football, the 2025 UEFA Nations League final, where legends clashed and history was made. Cristiano Ronaldo does it again. At 40 years old, he equalizes in a high-stakes final against Spain, leading Portugal to one of the most dramatic victories in recent football history. In June 8, 2025, at Munich's Allianz Arena, the stage was set for pure football theatre. So, what made this moment truly unforgettable? Let's dive into Cristiano Ronaldo's heroic performance and Portugal's incredible journey to glory. To truly feel the weight of this final, we need to rewind. How did Portugal and Spain make it this far? What battles did they fight? What storms did they weather? Portugal wasn't just another team. They were on a mission. With Roberto Martinez at the helm, many had doubts. Could a new coach really guide a legendary squad to the top? Could he manage big egos, rising stars, and the immense expectations of a nation? The pressure was real, but so was the ambition. This wasn't just about winning a tournament, it was about proving Portugal was still a dominant force in world football. From the group stages, Portugal looked like a team possessed. Their gameplay was sharp, focused, and full of flair. Cristiano Ronaldo, even at 40, wasn't just showing up, he was showing off. The hunger in his eyes, the fire in his movement, it was like watching a man racing against time and winning. Alongside him, the young blood, João Felix, Vitinha, Nuno Mendes, formed a dangerous core. Together, they struck a balance between experience and explosive energy. Every pass, every run, every tackle, it all felt like destiny taking shape. Their defining moment came in the semi-final against Germany. A match that felt less like a game and more like a war. The atmosphere was tense. You could almost hear hearts pounding louder than the crowd. Germany scored first, sending a wave of panic through Portuguese fans. But the Seleção didn't crumble. They rose. They fought back with ferocity, turning fear into fuel. And then, that moment, Ronaldo, with the calmness of 1,000 battles behind him, timed his run to perfection and smashed the ball into the net. It wasn't just a goal, it was a roar from a lion refusing to go quietly. Portugal won 2-1 and marched into the final with fire burning in their veins. Spain, on the other hand, were in the midst of a bold rebirth. The golden era of tiki-taka was long gone. Now, under Luis de la Fuente, Spain was fast, daring, and electric. Their play was sharp, their vision futuristic. They didn't just pass the ball, they punched holes through defenses with ruthless efficiency. Gavi, Pedri, and Zubimendi, all under 23, controlled the midfield like generals born in a new era. Their chemistry was unreal, their confidence unshakable. Spain's semi-final against France was one for the history books. A wild 5-4 encounter that had fans screaming, gasping, and biting their nails until the last whistle. Each time France tried to pull away, Spain clawed back. Ferran Torres, Oyarzabal, and Nico Williams were unstoppable. They showed not just talent, but heart. The kind of heart that makes champions. That game didn't just earn them a place in the final, it earned them global respect. And so, it all led to this. Two proud nations, one single dream, a final that promised fireworks and legends. On one side, Ronaldo, possibly in his final international dance, chasing glory like a man on a mission. On the other, Spain's fearless new generation, ready to break past shadows of history and start a new chapter. No one could predict what would happen, but one thing was certain. The road to this final had already written a legendary tale. Now, it was time to write the final chapter. On June 8, 2025, the Allianz Arena in Munich lit up like a battlefield. Over 65,000 fans packed the stands, chanting, waving flags, and creating a wall of sound that echoed across Europe. The tension, the excitement, the raw emotion, it was all building towards something unforgettable. From the first whistle, you could feel it. The storm had begun. Spain tried to dominate with possession, stringing passes together with robotic precision. Portugal, however, were calm, disciplined. They waited, they watched, and when the moment came, they pounced. In the 21st minute, Spain struck first. A sharp move down the flank saw Lamine Yamal deliver a perfect cross into the danger zone. Portugal's defenders hesitated just for a second, and that was enough. Martin Zubimendi ghosted in and buried the chance. 1-0 to Spain. The red half of the stadium erupted in pure joy. But Portugal didn't panic, they responded like champions. Just 5 minutes later, Pedro Neto burned down the wing, skinning his marker and firing in a low, dangerous ball. And there was Nuno Mendes charging in, fearless, smashing it into the bottom corner. 1-1. Game on. As the half progressed, both teams settled into a fierce tactical chess match. Spain's midfield trio, Pedri, Fabian Ruiz and Zubimendi, orchestrated passes with machine-like efficiency, constantly shifting the point of attack. Their ball control was impressive, methodical and relentless. They weren't just playing, they were trying to suffocate Portugal's rhythm. But Portugal didn't fold. Then, just before halftime, heartbreak for Portugal. Out of nowhere, Pedri conjured a moment of magic. From midfield, he glanced up and spotted Mikel Oyarzabal making a darting run. One perfect through ball split the defense like a scalpel. Oyarzabal timed it to perfection, sliding the ball calmly past Diogo Costa. The stadium erupted with Spanish celebration. The scoreboard read 2-1. The timing couldn't have been worse for Portugal. Seconds before the whistle, and once again they found themselves chasing the game. The look on Ronaldo's face was enough to reignite belief. He had been here before. He had seen these moments and overcome them. As the second half began, the energy inside the Allianz Arena was electric. Portugal emerged with fire in their eyes, as if the break had transformed frustration into fuel. Roberto Martinez's words must have struck a chord, because the team that came back onto the pitch looked sharper, hungrier and more dangerous. Spain, sensing Portugal's rise, grew nervous. Their control began to slip. And then the moment. 61st minute. Nuno Mendes, charging down the left flank, whipped in a dangerous cross. It took a slight deflection off a Spanish defender and fell right to the feet of Cristiano Ronaldo. He didn't hesitate. With the world watching, he struck the ball on the volley. Clean, precise, deadly. The net bulged, the crowd exploded. It was his 138th international goal. But more than that, it was a moment that froze time. Ronaldo sprinted toward the corner, flag, arms outstretched, pointing to the sky. His teammates mobbed him. The crowd chanted his name. It wasn't just an equalizer, it was a memory carved into football history. And just like that, the momentum shifted. Portugal pressed higher, faster, harder. Spain's once dominant midfield began to crack. Their passes went astray. Their composure wavered. Portugal smelled blood. João Felix came close in the 73rd minute with a powerful header. Bruno Fernandes forced a diving save from Unai Simon moments later. The pressure mounted. The Spanish bench looked uneasy. For the first time, they weren't leading, they were holding on. Then, in the 88th minute, a hush swept across the Portuguese fans. Ronaldo, visibly limping, signaled to the bench it was over. He couldn't continue. As he walked off the field, thousands stood in applause. His face was a portrait of pain, pride, and exhaustion. A warrior leaving the battlefield. But the fight wasn't over yet. Extra time began and both teams pushed through fatigue. Every touch felt heavier, every sprint slower, but the heart was louder than ever. Dani Olmo tested Diogo Costa with a vicious strike in the 97th. Portugal responded through Pedro Neto, whose curling effort in the 103rd minute came inches from glory. When the final whistle of extra time rang out, the stadium seemed to hold its breath. The score was still 2-2. There would be no more time to rewrite the story. It would now come down to nerves, heart, and precision. The penalty shootout loomed, and on the bench, Ronaldo sat with his head bowed, hands clenched tightly in prayer. Portugal, still riding the emotional wave of Ronaldo's equalizer, came out firing as extra time began. The team looked recharged, not just physically but spiritually. They knew this was their moment to seize. The momentum was on their side and they were determined not to let it slip. Bernardo Silva, ever the magician with the ball at his feet, danced through tight spaces between Spanish defenders, teasing and tormenting them. His creativity opened up Portugal's attacks in ways that had Spain scrambling to adjust. João Felix, with fire in his eyes, took more risks. In the 96th minute, he unleashed a curling effort from outside the box, a shot filled with power and intent. But Unai Simon, locked in and alert, leapt and punched it away. Spain answered with their own flashes of brilliance. Lamine Yamal, their young sensation, twisted and turned on the right wing, looking for gaps. But every time he got close, he was met with the steel of Ruben Dias. The Portuguese centre-back was a wall, calm, commanding and impossible to shake. Fatigue began to show. Legs grew heavy, passes weren't as crisp, players dropped with cramps. Substitutions became a lifeline as both managers tried to inject energy and find fresh legs that might produce that one magical moment. Then came the 110th minute. A heartbeat away from destiny. Spain earned a free kick just outside the Portuguese box. A hush fell over the stadium. Dani Olmo stood over the ball. He took his steps, his breath, and curled it beautifully over the wall. For a split second it looked perfect, but it bent just wide of the far post. Diogo Costa didn't even dive. He turned and exhaled. The football gods were still listening. Portugal surged forward again. Pedro Neto, relentless and electric, sprinted down the left, cut inside and fired low with venom. The ball skipped across the rain-slick grass and almost crept under Simon, who just managed to get a glove to it. The rebound bounced away. Inches. That's all that separated glory from despair. Despite heroic efforts from both sides, no goal came. The referee's whistle rang out. Full time after 120 minutes. The scoreboard still read 2-2. There were no more tactics left, no more plays to draw. Now, it was about courage. It would come down to penalties, football's most ruthless judgment. On the sideline, Cristiano Ronaldo sat motionless, staring ahead. His hands were clasped tightly, lips whispering silent prayers. He had done his part. Now, it was up to the next generation. The stadium roared with anxiety and expectation as the shootout began. Portugal would go first. Bernardo Silva walked up slowly, calmly. With a sharp breath, he ran up and slotted the ball to the right as Simon dove the wrong way. 1-0. Dani Olmo responded with confidence. He struck clean and low, tucking it in with precision. 1-1, still level. Then came Bruno Fernandes. The crowd went silent. He did what he always does. A tiny pause, eyes locked on the keeper, and then a shot. 2-1 Portugal. Spain returned with Pedri. The youngster aimed for the right side. Diogo Costa read it perfectly and lunged. His fingertips brushed the ball. It clipped the inside of the post and trickled in. A collective gasp. 2-2, that close. João Felix took Portugal's third. Under immense pressure, the young star showed no fear. He blasted the ball into the top right corner. 3-2 Portugal. And then, the moment that changed everything, Alvaro Morata stepped up. A seasoned striker, a national hero, but the weight of expectations crushed him. He fired low and right. And Diogo Costa guessed correctly. The save was clean. The stadium erupted. Portugal's bench exploded. Advantage secured. Now Ruben Neves. He had ice in his veins. The midfielder struck it hard, low and true. 4-2. Portugal on the edge of glory. Spain needed to keep hopes alive. Nico Williams, full of talent and tension, converted cleanly. 4-3. But the damage had been done. One kick separated Portugal from history. It was now in the hands of Goncalo Ramos. One goal away from glory, one shot from making history. He struck it and it was in. Portugal had done it. 5-3 on penalties. The bench erupted. Players poured onto the pitch. Roberto Martinez lifted his arms to the sky. And Ronaldo? He sprinted onto the field, tears streaming, hugging teammates, soaking in the moment. This wasn't just a win, it was a redemption arc. A legend's legacy reinforced in gold. Portugal, UEFA Nations League champions once again. As the dust settled and the confetti rained down, emotions took over. Tears, smiles, hugs. The Allianz Arena witnessed raw, unfiltered humanity. For Portugal, it wasn't just a win, it was redemption. It was belief, it was a tribute to resilience. Cristiano Ronaldo, now draped in the national flag, couldn't hold back his tears. Cameras zoomed in as he knelt on the pitch, hands over his face. At 40 years old, many thought he was done. But on this night, he proved otherwise. Not just with a goal, but with leadership, presence, and emotion. It's not about age, he told reporters later. It's about heart. And tonight, we had the biggest heart on the field. His voice cracked. His eyes still misty. Coach Roberto Martinez praised his squad's unity. This group showed something special. We weren't just playing football, we were playing for pride, for legacy, and for our people back home. On the other side, Spain's young stars stood stunned. The pain was visible. Gavi, Pedri and Nico Williams fought back tears, while Morata stood with his head down, haunted by the missed penalty. Still, coach Luis de la Fuente reminded everyone of the bigger picture. This is only the beginning. Our boys will grow from this. They showed courage and spirit, and next time we'll be ready. The world applauded both sides, one for their triumphant story, the other for their fearless rise. But the night belonged to Portugal, and above all, to Ronaldo, a man who once again reminded the world why he's a legend. One more medal, one more miracle. Maybe his last dance on the international stage, but what a dance it was. In football, some moments outlive the match. They turn into memories, into legends, and what unfolded in Munich on June 8, 2025 will be etched into football history forever. For Portugal, this victory was more than just silverware. It marked their second UEFA Nations League title, making them the first nation to achieve this feat. But more importantly, it showcased a perfect blend of experience and youth, a team built around wisdom, discipline, and raw hunger. It wasn't just about Ronaldo, it was about a nation rising together. Young stars like Nuno Mendes, João Neves, and Joe Costa proved they're ready to carry the torch forward. The match confirmed that Portugal isn't clinging to the past, they're confidently walking into the future. And yet, the beating heart of it all remained Cristiano Ronaldo. At 40, many players are long retired, but Ronaldo didn't just play, he changed the game. That equalizer wasn't just a goal, it was a message to every doubter. Class is permanent. His passion, his leadership, and his refusal to fade quietly added another glorious chapter to his unmatched legacy. For Spain, the loss was painful, but not without hope. Their young core showed bravery, flair, and potential. They fell short, yes, but their journey is only just beginning. This was a generation-defining match that will shape their character for years to come. Across the world, headlines weren't just about the win. They were about Ronaldo's defiance of time, about a team that refused to break, and about a final that gave fans everything. goals, drama, heartbreak, and triumph. Legends don't fade, they evolve. And if this was indeed Cristiano Ronaldo's final international final, he didn't exit quietly. He went out like a king. June 8, 2025 wasn't just a football match, it was a masterpiece of emotion, legacy, and unrelenting spirit. Portugal didn't just win a title, they told a story of grit, belief, and a legend who refused to be forgotten. Cristiano Ronaldo's equalizer wasn't just a goal, it was a heartbeat, a moment that stopped time. At 40, he stood tall among giants, proving that greatness knows no age. Spain brought the fire of youth, courage, and brilliance, and though they fell short, their rise has only just begun. In the end, football gave us what it always promises: unpredictability, drama, and heroes. And as the final whistle blew in Munich, one truth echoed louder than any cheer: legends never fade, they rise again and again. If Ronaldo's comeback gave you goosebumps, like the video, subscribe for more epic football moments, and comment your thoughts. Was this his greatest ever? Let's celebrate football's finest together.